Hello, Internet! Welcome to episode 281 of the Assorted Calibers podcast. The second round podcast is a little bit for everyone. I'm Weer'd, and tonight we are having an ACP Round Table because it was a holiday week and we were being merry or busy or other stuff. I will say, unfortunately, Erin Paulette is not joining us tonight. She said that something happened. She hopes it's not serious. That's all I know. That's all any of us know. So our thoughts are going out to Erin, and hopefully that everything is going to be just fine with that. But we have David.
I am tired.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired myself. We have Myles.
Hello.
And we have Oddball.
I haven't bought a gun or a knife all year.
I haven't bought a gun or knife all year either.
Me too.
Same here.
You know,
we should reward ourselves
with a gun or a knife.
I already have mine picked out.
Why not both?
We could just turn this show into one long gun broker browsing until we find the ones that we want to bid on.
Well, cutting to the chase, Myles has already found mine.
Yes.
So to set up the joke properly, and to paraphrase what I wrote, because I think I had cuss words in it, but Erin Paulette started a ACP birthday spreadsheet that essentially had everybody's contact information, clothing size, preference of how we like our books, if we like ebooks or dead tree books or audio books, and then you know, and that sort of stuff, and also caliber of choice. And I think Oddball, you wrote a similar thing, but I pretty much said I'll take any caliber. If you buy me a caliber I don't have, it's just an excuse to buy a gun in it. And so. Yeah. And so Myles and I decided that we are recording this on New Year's Day, which I think I've mentioned on many occasions is my birthday. And Myles, you had your birthday a couple days ago. And so we decided, you know, it'd be cool. We both live in Massachusetts. Let's get together and have kind of a little birthday celebration. And
yep.
And just to cut onto mine, my excuse is, Like
you need an excuse.
Literally, I was texting Myles saying, I hope we're not late because we are buying a car this morning. And we were meeting an hour away for lunch. And so we did finally get the car and got there, and all of the shuffling around and getting the car and arranging the vehicles and getting everything set up. So, are we going to be all right driving this? Okay, we're good. All right, we're good. I left Myles' gift on my kitchen floor, right where I wouldn't miss it. And of course, Myles mentions that if you listen to the ACP blooper reel, you know what I got Myles, and Myles listens to the ACP blooper reel, so Myles knows what I got Myles. And but Myles got me something, and listen to him laugh. He's already chortling because it was pretty hilarious. He just said we were in a restaurant, and so he's like, "Yeah, you don't have to. It's set up so you don't have to unwrap them all the way, so you can look at them in the bag, so we don't scare the normies." And picked it up, and it was a very heavy bag with a unicorn on it. And
as you will,
yes. And so and there were two boxes inside. One box, 454 Kasul. I'm like, okay, the die has been cast. And the
only
other,
a matter of time.
Yeah, and the other, I want a Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan so bad.
With a 2-inch barrel.
Well, that's the only way they make them. And I think it's 2 3/4, but either way.
It's a little stubby barrel.
And then the other one was 9x21 IMI. And I'm like, is this what I think it is? And it was. I looked it up. And to further prove it, Myles, I was actually looking at the box. The box
Yep.
has the load data. It's the Winchester Super X 9x21, and it has the load data on the back, and it gives the muzzle velocity in meters per second and the muzzle energy in joules. This was never meant to be in the United States.
You're welcome.
And if I do see a gun in 9x21 IMI, I'm going to be thinking long and hard about it. Like, well, I do have 50 rounds of ammo for this. And I'm sure I could back off a 9mm reloading die and make it work. I don't know. David, do you know anything about loading by 9x21 IMI?
Isn't it just the standard 9mm load data? It's just the bullet is seated deeper?
Yeah. It's bullets seated deeper in a longer case. I don't know. But either way, I leaned over during the while we were eating. I leaned over and mentioned that my wife was very, very anxious. She's like, "Are we just going to be talking about guns the whole time?" I said, "Probably not." Myles has a very wide range of interests, but my wife was just
so do Oddball and I. And Oddball, how often has Panya commented on the fact that within 5 minutes, every single conversation goes to guns?
I mean, sometimes it goes to 3D printers.
And then?
Knives.
Yeah, okay, knives show up occasionally too.
Yeah.
That's fine.
cats.
Well, that's just normal.
But either way, I said that as my wife and Myles' wife were just so deep in conversation that they were unaware that we were having a good chuckle at their expense. So it was an absolute wonderful time, Myles. Thank you so much for picking the venue. We got to the table, and there at the table is a view of the pond, and it's filled with ducks.
Speaking of ducks,
Yes.
Somebody posted this picture. What kind of ducks are those? I don't think I've seen them. Those markings.
That appears to be closer to goose, but I'm not super familiar.
It's like somebody took a Muscovy and a Canadian goose and slammed them together.
Yeah, it does kind of have it definitely has a Muscovy sort of gait about it.
Yeah, but prettied up a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Muscovies are ugly, but, and those babies, I need to pat them a lot.
Yeah. Now, the friend who posted that is in Israel.
Oh, okay.
But they're adorable.
Yeah. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous bird, but no, I've never seen such a thing, but it does look like a Muscovy duck in size, but yeah, but, let's see. Yeah. That was essentially my week. Is my daughter was up in Maine. We just came and picked her up today. Had a little birthday party at my parents' house, and also swung by my mother-in-law's house to show off the new car and help her out with a few things. And just got way behind on time, and I just got home. So hopefully I am not too horribly unprepared for this show, but that's kind of the nature of that's the nature of a vacation week. Yeah. How actually, Myles, what do you got anything else to round off your vacation week? Or you didn't?
Nope, that was about it.
You've been busy. Actually,
yeah.
Have you got your truck fixed?
The truck's doing okay, but it's the wife's car and our son's van that are needing the work, really.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, good luck with that. Well, David, your holiday's long past. What do you have to report?
We had plans for New Year's that changed several times, and on Saturday we had Nugget Palooza of our own. I don't remember how many nuggets we cooked up, but it could have been more. And I made it could have been more. Really, there was little French fries and lots of other food.
Mm.
And I made a nice, simple sweet and sour sauce that I think turned out pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I'm thinking of making another batch of it to do a glaze on some chicken. But for those who are not familiar, Nugget Palooza is an event that was invented by Larry Correa, where they would go out and buy a metric buttload of McDonald's chicken McNuggets and then feast upon them. I explained this to my wife, who said, "We can do that, but no McDonald's nuggets." she required a higher quality nugget.
I mean, she is a wise woman.
Yes. And so we got, I think it's Tyson, one of the nicer name brand bag of, I think, 100 nuggets.
Tyson does make a decent nugget.
Yeah. And there it was. So we had nuggets, we had fries, we had veggies, we had various dips. I even pulled out of the refrigerator all of the packets of honey roasted barbecue sauce that I'd picked up at Chick-fil-A over the past year. And we just put all of those into a container. Just, cut them open and squeeze them out.
I will say, David, the if you ever get a batch of sourdough starter going, the absolute best chicken battering. Cut your chickens into nugget sized pieces, and
or stripped or whatever.
Add some of your sourdough starter to essentially like a 70-30 mix of flour and water, and wait till it gets all bubbly. Then add salt and any seasoning to it. Mix it up, and then throw in your chicken and leave them overnight.
Uh-huh.
And then
so the acid can do some work on it.
That's the acid. Also essentially it creates a batter. All sourdough is kind of a perfect batter all in itself, because it's the gluten is heavily developed in the flour, which acts as a binding agent like the egg. The acid in that kind of acts like buttermilk or any sort of seasoning for marinade, as long as you throw in the salt as well. And then the bubbles, the CO2 bubbles from the yeast and bacteria doing their thing, acts as kind of a leavening, kind of like the little bit of baking soda that is often put in like Chinese chicken tenders. And so, they come out like really, really, really good.
Nice.
I was surprised because I was kind of nervous, but I'm like, this seems to work in my head. So I'm going to give it a try. But I was searching everywhere on Google and could not find anybody who did this to chicken. Closest I had was people who had ground up sourdough loaf to make breadcrumbs and then rolled chicken in that, which I have also done, which is delicious.
Well, okay. And I found something for you. Come on.
Oh, look at
link.
That. 9x21 chamber reamer.
There
only
you go.
Only $85.
It's a bargain at half the price.
Well, how much would a basic 9mm barrel cost?
So you get a high point.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez, Oddball. That is such a bad idea that it's gone around the edge to good.
Maybe we should pass this idea on to Matt and Heinrich.
No, Tinker.
Yeah, but he'd just build a whole gun around it.
Yes.
This is true. If
He would not
hasn't already.
Right. He would not start with a high point. He would start, hey, I got this barrel in 9x21.
Will he do
So I went through my parts bins and built this gun.
What's that? The single stack Beretta that was like used by the Iraqi military and all that? That's
Model 51?
Yeah, that's essentially the 92, but single stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 51.
Well, it predates, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all right. It's a Walther P38 clone, but either way, that no, it's not, because it's got the frame mounted safety.
Ooh, huh.
But it does still use the walking block.
9x23 Winchester.
Oh yeah, that's a different animal.
I have not heard about that in a long time, so I'm not remembering any details.
It's essentially a 38 Super that's rimless.
So it's basically 38 Super Comp?
Kind of.
The 38 Super Comp is the rimless version.
Yeah, it may not be quite as hot, but I don't know.
Well, then what's the point? Right?
Well, go into your local gun shop and ask who has some of that. Is that an AK that just barfed on itself?
I think so.
The spring tried to escape.
Yeah, that's not.
But But it's not an AK.
No, I guess it isn't.
No, it's not, because that's from the rear.
I just see that.
I'm thinking that might be an M240. It looks like there's bipod feet up ahead, and it looks like a feed tray lifted up in the top background.
Could be.
And it definitely has the look of either the 240 or SCAR or something like that, but the SCAR doesn't quite
Here's
look
an
right.
AK where the recoil spring went.
Oh, it's a Mobius spring.
Well, none of our listeners can see these images, and
Right.
we got other business to attend to.
Business.
So, Oddball, how was your Christmas? How was your week?
It was good. Had Christmas with Panya's family, which was good, and had spent New Year's weekend with David, and we did a thing.
I was hoping if you weren't going to, I was going to force the segue.
So our lovely listeners probably know, and especially if you are a member of our Facebook group, you have seen the object. I have actually 3D. I have made one of those evil ghost guns. Specifically a CZ61 Scorpion.
Just one little detail. Weird. I regret sending all of the googly eyes to your daughter.
Oh, why is that?
Because I would have put a couple of them on the back of the ghost gun.
Oh, yes, that is a regret.
And specifically using the Caesar, the Caesar or Czar rather 3D V3 file pack, which at least some of the instructions are done by Ivan the Troll.
Ivan.
Looking at the credits, it wasn't necessarily him that did that is credited with doing the design work, but
the likelihood of him not being involved is low.
Right. And let's see, just in case if Myles hadn't seen it. And I did decide to print out the CZ61 style pistol grip for it, which is not as comfortable as the Magpul AR grip that was on there, but it looks more correct. And part of that is, and let me step back a little bit, the this receiver that I printed out uses the VZ61 original parts for the magazine release and the bolt hold open and ejector, but the trigger pack and hammer and safety are AR parts. So it's a bit of a mashup, and it uses AR style. It uses AR grips. So you can put whatever style AR grip on it you want. And I took it with me so that we could make use of David's private range to try it out. And I believe the term is hilarity ensued.
Considering at one point we were having to brace our hands on our thighs to keep from falling over with laughter, I would say that's a safe way to phrase it.
Yeah. There was one malfunction that was induced due to the 3D printed part, and that was the
hammer pin.
The trigger pin. The pin holding the trigger in had worked its way loose and out of one side of the gun, so that kind of bound things up a good bit.
All the rest of the malfunctions, however, were purely Czech in origin.
Yes, and there were many.
I think it's time for me to put some pictures in the show notes folder.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one in chat. Myles or Weer'd,
yes.
You might notice something.
That cartridge shouldn't be there.
No, it really shouldn't. That's a live cartridge.
Oh, I see him looking, saying, "How'd he do?" He somehow found his way in front of the bolts, but between the barrel and the charging handle?
Between the barrel and the exterior of the upper receiver.
Yeah.
It
I'll toss some of mine in there as well.
we don't know how that happened, but it
you would
happened a couple times.
Yeah, so the barrel is 4.5 inches long, and it sticks about 1.5 inches out of the front of the receiver. And the rest of the barrel comes back, and the chamber flares out. But it doesn't flare out completely to fill the folded receiver. And there apparently was just enough space for a .32 ACP round to get past that flared chamber, but not enough room for it to get back, which is not how physics is supposed to work. God damn it!
And I just posted a picture of the round in question after we finally took the gun apart to get it out, and
it was a little chilly out.
Yeah, we should have taken a picture of a 32 of a fresh 32 round next to it, but you could probably tell that there's a little bit of setback. And by little bit, dear listeners, I mean there is a visible gap between the top of the case wall and the bullet itself, because it's set back far enough that the curve of the bullet is that.
Yeah. There were also a couple of not quite as catastrophic feeding jams or ejecting. Mm-hmm. We both posted our version of the same picture.
And one that I didn't get a picture of. So the ejector on a Scorpion.
Here, you can see it in this picture. You can see the ejector.
Yeah, you can see there how it has those two prongs. I had one malfunction where the ejector decided to hold on to the spent case instead of eject it.
Now, just to clarify, the two legs of the ejector, there's a gap in between them. That gap is too small for the semi-rimmed base of a .32 ACP round. It is just barely big enough for the, I would say, forward half of the case diameter. And that's what happened. Apparently, the ejected round rode up and over the ejector and then dropped down back in between those legs. And I still don't understand how that particular physics works with the bolt movement.
Yeah, that was one that I was shooting it. I shot it, saw that it was jammed, looked in the ejection port and saw that and just paused and looked at David and rotated the gun so that he could see it.
And then I came closer and you handed me the gun because
I was bent over laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure which we laughed harder about, that one or the round getting forward of the chamber outside the barrel.
Yeah.
Now, just to point things out again, there were, as Oddball said, other than the trigger pin drifting, there were no issues with the 3D printed lower. That performed flawlessly.
And I think we might have gotten everything worked out.
Yeah, I mean, we cleaned and lubed and greased that poor thing within an inch of its life. Title of our sex tape.
Because I did rapid fire most of a magazine's worth of ammo through it
at the very end,
without any issue.
Yeah. So my thought when we were looking at it was the barrel is a new manufacturer barrel because stupid ATF import regs, or ATF or import regs. Mm-hmm. And we thought that the barrel might have been mounted and it's a pressure fit to the receiver with a cross pin, might have been just ever so slightly canted. So when the bolt came forward, because it's a slightly wraparound bolt, that it was just causing a little bit of torque, causing the bolt to twist slightly. And that was tying things up because the bolt would go forward but not quite chamber the round. And then it would fire one, eject, and then do that for the next round. Or you'd get 2 or 3. I managed to get 5 in a row, and then I don't think we got 2 in a row for the next 10 rounds. But as Oddball said, things seem to have worn in or settled in or whatever, and he was able to, I think it was 15 or 16 rounds in a row?
It's something like that, yeah.
Without a single malfunction. And as a holiday miracle, we found all 50 32 ACP cases. Do you have any idea how remarkable that is? This is a gravel and grass range, and we found all 50 32 cases. Now, admittedly, it was made easier because half of them came down on the shooter because they go straight up. Oh, and we were shooting at my 8-inch steel plate. So you'd fire and you'd hear this faint tunk. And then about 2 seconds later, you'd hear the brass hit the ground because it was ejecting straight up. And when it ejected properly, it had some oomph behind it.
Mm-hmm. And I think I will replace the red dot sight just because I don't particularly like the look of that sight on that gun, and also that's actually a pretty decent sight. It's a Sig Romeo 5.
Hey, I told you I've got that old Weaver I could let you use.
It's true, and I forgot to grab it. But I was thinking about either going with something minimalist with that also has the laser side saddle, or something possibly ridiculous. But whatever I do, it's going to be one of those cheap red dots you can pick up on Amazon for $40 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I will say the build process was a lot of fun. And it is a very interesting gun, and I'm glad I've done it, and I will definitely share this in the future.
Oh, yeah. And since your first 3D printed gun went so successfully, you'll be doing more of them.
Yeah, I already have my next project planned out, although it'll just be a bullpup conversion for an AK-47. I think that's my next project.
For your AK?
Yeah, for my AK.
Nice. I was actually thinking, what would it take to convert an AR or an AK using 3D printed so that basically it's rotated 90 degrees, so you've got a side-mounted magazine and downward ejection. Like a Johnson machine gun?
Yeah. They're operating the safety lever on an AK would be tricky at that angle.
But just imagine one of these doing that with an AR. I think it's doable. I mean, you could use a standard. If you did it right, you could use basically a standard AR lower and a 3D printed upper with the magwell out the side, and then it would simply eject down out the standard magwell.
Yeah,
and that would just be fun.
What do you think of this idea, Weer'd?
I think it's nightmare fuel, so you should definitely do it.
Maybe we should just tell Booligan.
Yeah, I think
there you go.
Yeah, but either way, I think it's time to wrestle this back in. We've that was the first good topic of the week, the 3D printed Scorpion, and that's I'm so happy for you, Oddball.
It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
All right, and similarly to handgun question mark news, because it's technically a handgun, but yeah, it's not a handgun. But we have many of you may have heard we have lost Gaston Glock. He passed away. Mm-hmm. How old was he? He was
94.
94.
I believe.
So let me tell you, it was he will be missed, but let's be honest, 94 is a magnificent run. So congratulations to him. And the number of people talking about his horse breeding stable has been quite amusing. But yeah, he is he passed away, and I have got to say I've already talked to Ryan. What we're going to be doing in the next handgun radio, we're going to be doing a thing on speculating on what's going to happen to Glock, because everything I've always heard about Gaston was very similar to that of Bill Ruger of Ruger Firearms, is that he was always the guy saying no to the new ideas.
Yeah.
So
it was the day of or the day after the announcement of Gaston's passing, there were literally people in gun groups saying, "So does this mean we're going to get a Glock PCC?"
I mean, it would seem, especially given like this kind of new
current
renaissance
market.
of PCCs that we've got. Yeah, I think that
Mhm.
And the fact that most of them use Glock magazines anyway.
yeah, and that certainly was the big one that people were always talking about was Glock PCC and 22 caliber. We did get the Glock. Oh, was that the 44? I think it was the 44.
That's the 22 version.
Yeah, but so
Mhm.
a 22 caliber Glock was greatly desired, and now has finally hit the scene.
And at least the first iteration had some issues with out of battery discharges.
yeah, not the one I shot in full auto.
Intentionally?
Yeah. No, when Aaron and I were down in Texas, there was one of the vendors. He was making exploding targets, and he had a Glock 44 with an auto sear on it.
Nice.
Because we had a number of them go through the range, and they would work okay at first, but then they would start getting out of battery discharges, and it would be, bits of brass blown out the ejection port and the base of the case shredded. And it was just a couple of them did that. The others were fine. And I think it was just the normal teething of a new production. I think I don't have any issue with that firearm. I think for someone who owns a Glock, it just makes sense. But there were the usual starting issues. But yeah, I would like to see now. I'm not happy that Gaston passed, but 94 is a good run, and a lot of people are making fun of it, of his passing. I don't think that's right, but I would like to see Glock innovate a little bit more, because the joke of Glock makes one gun in different sizes and calibers isn't really a joke.
No.
Yeah.
They make good guns, they make reliable guns, they make economic guns, but they don't make a variety in designs.
Well, that was certainly the case when Bill Ruger died. Like, I don't even know if they waited for his body to get cold before they released the first AR-15 by Ruger,
or the first Ruger branded high capacity magazine for.
Oh yeah, yep.
The
for the Mini 14 and the 1022, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also the SR9 and SR40 series came out shortly after Bill Ruger's passing.
Yeah, because Bill passed in 2002.
Yep.
And it was pretty quick. Was it his son who took over?
That I don't know, but it certainly seems that like he was a major factor. And of course, for those that didn't know,
when Bill Ruger died, and then Bill Jr. took over, and he died in 2018 unexpectedly.
Oh man, but yeah, old Bill Ruger was a fan of gun control and was one of the guys that was working with the Clintons. And so, yeah, there certainly are people. I remember someone said in a group going, "Man, I'm surprised that you're such a fan of a company that so embraced gun control." I'm like, yeah, not anymore. But it was part of Ruger's past.
Yeah, and there are still people who will say things like they won't buy any Ruger firearm because Bill cooperated with.
Yep.
It's like, he's dead. You won.
Yeah, occasionally you see the people are like with Smith & Wesson. It's one of those like,
oh yeah,
literally talked to the marketing director of Smith & Wesson. He was like, "Yes, we know."
That was
never
2 owners ago.
Exactly.
That was 2 owners ago. That was when it was owned by a British company, and then I believe was it Safety Hammer, and then the current owners, or did I miss one? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter either way. Yeah, Smith & Wesson and Ruger have been cleansed of their gun control pasts.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's still, the end of an era.
I will say
he had a long, good life. He made a great impact in the firearms world. I honestly don't know how much impact he had in the horse breeding world.
I heard that I don't know either.
Yeah, it's not any of our areas of interest, but he definitely had an impact in making polymer framed handguns mainstream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people talk a lot about the VP70. Oh, Glock was not the first. The HK VP70 was the first. Polymer.
And they are technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Yeah, the polymer striker fired pistol. But nobody really likes the VP70.
No. I mean, well, with the VP70, the VP70Z specifically, the civilian model, how many were made and how long it was in production?
Yeah,
not a lot and not long.
I mean, it was the key factor to the difference between the Glock 17, first gen, the what was it they called it, the SA80? What was the
the Glock SA? Not SA80. It was something 80. I forget.
Yeah, but either way, the very, 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 very first Glock, the Glock 17. Say oh, now I've lost my train of thought. But yeah.
But the Glock was really the first successful.
That was my thought.
Polymer pistol,
and the Glock 17 was
Weer'd.
designed to be a military sidearm.
Yes.
and a police pistol. The VP70 was designed absolutely to be a PDW and submachine gun.
Yes. But I just was looking on the Wikipedia page for it. It was in production from 70 to 89, which was longer than I thought, but I think a number of those were more than military. But it does mention in here 400 VP70Zs were made in 9x21 IMI.
There you go.
Oh,
So you just got to find one of those.
a worse idea has never been thought of.
You love it, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. Because you're a dirty girl.
But yeah, our heart goes out to Gaston Glock for all that he gave to and his family. In the news of his passing, but we will also say congratulations to having someone that people all around the world are noting his passing. That is the mark of someone who has absolutely changed the world, and I would argue for the better. But also,
he made reasonably priced guns, which meant that they were affordable. I mean, how many people entry level firearm their first handgun was a Glock?
Yeah.
I would say quite a few, and then they went on to try and buy other things.
If not Glock, how many people do you know their first gun was a Smith & Wesson Sigma, which paid an undisclosed amount to Glock because they totally copied it.
Well, and how many gun geeks do you know that just if a newbie asks them, say, "Oh, what handgun should I buy as my first gun?" They just
Glock
go,
19.
"You know what? Just buy a Glock."
Yeah, usually Glock 19.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, because again, his as his hands were getting weaker at the end of his life, and he was just like, I am really concerned about pulling the trigger on this Smith & Wesson 66, which was his carry gun when he was a lawyer. And I said, I said, why don't you sell it and get a modern, polymer semi-auto? And he's like, well, why are you saying polymer? And I'm like, because it's the future. But I said,
or you could fax a request for a steel frame gun.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds for both weight savings and for recoil mitigation. And so we went into a local shop and I just said, hey, have a look at the M&P, have a look at the Glock. And he liked the Glock a lot better. All right, let's go shoot it. Shot it at the range there. We'll take it. And that was that. So there's a lot to be said about Glock handguns. They were amazing, and we look forward to seeing if in fact the Glock Firearms Company will have a little bit of leeway now that Gaston is no longer there, because we did hear that he pushed back a lot.
Yeah, but I'm just hoping that Glock comes out of this tragedy stronger.
Yeah, certainly happened with Ruger, but we shall see.
Okay.
So now I wanted to put this one near the top. This is, I mean, one of the big reasons why there's two reasons why we decided to do a round table. One was because it was a holiday week, and
Right.
none of us made segments, and I wasn't going to ask anyone to make segments. But two, there was a ton of news that was dropping either just before Christmas or the days after Christmas. And so I'm like, you know what? We got this is rife with news stories, but unfortunately, there was a spree killer in Prague, and so yeah,
But I've been assured that those things only happen in the United States.
yeah, they do say that. I mean, I will unfortunately say that that Prague is the Czech Republic is one of the most gun friendly countries in all of Europe. Certainly, arguably, but at the same time, it still makes California look like Texas. So, it's still heavy amounts of gun control. But
Yeah, and they don't learn for the most of them.
yeah, and let's see, it was this the guy who was a professor? He was at a local university.
Yeah, I don't think he was a professor at that university though, or was that a
No,
different one?
I was thinking about the guy in Las Vegas.
Okay.
But yeah, there was but he did a spree killing. I don't know if we know what gun he used. The Wikipedia page is always good at such things. 2023 Prague shooting weapon. Oh, according to this, it was an AR-10 type rifle.
Oh.
But yeah. Oh yeah, so he was shooting from the rooftop. I saw a photograph of a person with an AR style rifle, and didn't know if that was the shooter or one of the police snipers just staged up.
Yep.
But yeah, this was our hearts go out to people, but I don't know what else to say, but just to say, again shows that it has nothing to do with gun control.
No.
It's just a thing that happens. We will not be naming or glorifying this jerk,
The murderer.
exactly. And so yeah, but our hearts go out to the families of those lost in Prague.
Yeah, one of the things I was reading the article, the BBC article that you linked.
Mhm.
Before the murderer left 14 people dead at the university, he shot his father earlier the same day and is now being investigated for the killing of another man and his 2-month-old baby girl in a forest on the eastern fringes of Prague a week ago.
Really? Ugh.
Yeah, so they are doing ballistics tests to see and if it actually was the same firearm that killed the two people.
Never mind that we already covered the story on ballistics testing.
Yes, I know, but it's like a bureaucracy. It has life of its own. But I didn't think AR pattern rifles were actually legal in Poland or Czech Republic rather.
Yeah, no, I hadn't either, and I assumed no, but
I want to say that,
Or at least not in semi-auto format.
yeah.
well, I guess as a segue, the another person who used a 308 AR, actually a Ruger, unfortunately for our friends at Ruger, was the shooter in Lewiston, Maine, and we kind of talked a lot about how this was a clear case of just the laws just not working. And yet again, we have another instance where we've seen many spree killers now that red flag laws have become quite prevalent, where the spree killers were in a red flag law state and could have been reported and never were. And this is an instance where
this guy, the main shooter, I thought I read that he was reported, but the police were apprehensive about confronting him.
Correct.
I think, yeah. So it didn't matter what laws they had because the police refused to follow or enforce them.
this is a slightly less dramatic Uvalde in the fact that the cops really don't want to stick their neck out for someone who might be dangerous.
Right.
So yeah, I know Senator Susan Collins, I believe, has submitted a red flag law for the state of Maine. So essentially, this is a yellow flag law, which can only be initiated by law enforcement. And Susan Collins wants it so that it can be initiated by anybody, but still enforced by law enforcement, and therefore useless, because if they think they're going to get shot, they're not going to enforce it. But it's just crap, and yeah, we just need cops to do their jobs.
I mean, more sensible laws, and for law enforcement to actually follow the law. I don't think that shouldn't be too much to ask. But yeah.
All right. Does someone else want to handle this next one?
Here, I'll jump in. So this is from our good friend Stephen Gutowski at The Reload. Headline: Honolulu has cut off gun sales, which is not technically correct. Hawaii, and specifically Honolulu, they are one of the places that passed a NYSERPA v. Bruin response bill, which requires what was it? Proof of training under a new law.
Yes.
But because of that, and going back to following the law, they're accepting applications, but the licenses will only be issued once they can acquire the proof of training under yet to be created standards. So the law went into effect requiring training, but the training wasn't defined in accordance with the law. So they can't issue permits because these people don't have proof of training, but there's no way for them to get proof of training. So they didn't technically cut off gun sales, except they cut off gun sales.
And furthermore, the idea that they need to define the training that's not in the law, it kind of means that they get to define training as whatever they think it means.
And in addition to that, the law also requires recertifying all instructors. And do you know what the instructor recertification program requires? Neither does anyone else.
Yep.
So the instructors can't get recertified to give the training that hasn't been defined so that people can purchase firearms. And Honolulu Deputy Corporation Counsel Daniel Gluck stated, applicants are free to wait to submit their permit applications until they finish the training, but they're also welcome to submit their application now and just show proof of training when they come back to pick up the permit. Yeah. So the new law went into effect January 1st, but they did not have the recertification or training set up by January 1st. The new rules couldn't go into place until at least 10 days after the hearing scheduled for January 9th. So January 19th at the earliest is when this could possibly be resolved. And then he said those looking to buy guns or obtain carry permits would have to complete classes after the trainers are recertified, which would cause a further delay. The Hawaii Firearms Coalition said the city's excuse represented a gross abuse of the law and was being used as a scapegoat for the lack of competency. And I'm sorry, wasn't there some saying about rights being delayed? Something?
A right delayed is a right denied.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this right is being delayed.
Oh, solidly. I mean, it's really being denied too, because again, they're saying you can't have the right until you do the dance, and now they won't specify what the dance is.
Yeah. Yep. And apparently, it's been over for a long time. Everyone has known that the counties were going to have to do something by January 1st in terms of certification process. I'm a little bit surprised that here we are with January 1st coming up in a few days, and they didn't do it despite having 6 months. So
They were busy.
yeah, and I'm sure that the Ninth Circuit will address this quickly and firmly.
Mm-hmm.
They're very busy dragging their feet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's what's going on in the Pacific. On the edge of the Pacific, who wants to take the next one then? Because I know I got to take the following one.
I actually don't know the details about this one.
The California one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely something that you would have a better time explaining than I think any of the rest of us, because it's talking about stays and appeals and
this is
stuff.
This is a case on essentially a Bruin reaction law,
Yeah,
where they are essentially
in California.
expanding the number of restricted areas. So essentially, you can have a gun, but you just can't ever carry.
Well, maybe a few streets.
Yes,
Oh, that was the other coast. That was Governor Hochul's quote.
Oh, okay. So an appeals court has stayed a temporary injunction an injunction that was part of a lower court ruling against the state's quote the state's sweeping new restrictions, which there's a bunch of those that California just put into place in response to Bruin.
Yeah, I think knee jerk would not be an incorrect description.
Right. And the panel apparently didn't bother really doing much as to explaining as to why in its order. Although I would assume that, like I said, I haven't really read into this, so I'm assuming that the appellate panel will be taking up the case on appeal. And of course, that being the case, it doesn't actually terribly surprise me that they're saying, yeah, we're gonna stay the lower court's order while we hear the appeal, especially since, as we know, that the Ninth Circuit, a good portion of those appellate judges are very much anti-gun and will figure out weaselly ways that all gun laws are completely kosher when they're blatantly not.
Yep. But if that law was to anything other than guns, they would be screaming about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And let's hear the only good thing I can think of with all of this is it's not like Illinois where the cases involving a new assault weapons ban where, if the ban goes into effect, legally they're the folks are supposed to turn in or destroy their property, which, this is I believe this is pretty much entirely dealing with where carry permit holders can carry the gun-free zones, etc., which, yes, that going into effect is a violation of the Second Amendment and these citizens' rights. But assuming that the court goes, oh yeah, no, this is blatantly unconstitutional, and rules that way, poof, the next day, those people aren't directly out of money or property, etc. Now, in the meantime, they are not able to carry one of the most effective defensive tools on the planet to defend themselves, but
yeah, good times.
Mm-hmm.
So, Oddball, what do you? I know you said you haven't read into it much, but just basically your understanding of how this process works. Where do you think the next step is likely to lead?
With them putting out the stay on it, the plaintiffs probably have an uphill battle dealing with the Ninth Circuit, whether it be this panel or en banc, which is we know this. This is a known issue.
It's the Ninth Circus.
It's the Ninth Circus, and it's one of the things that has been frustrating me since Bruin. I think is the correct term. That SCOTUS wrote a fairly clear set of instructions on what they believe to be constitutional and unconstitutional, and both lawmakers and judges have literally stated, we know SCOTUS said this, we don't care, we're going to go the other direction anyways.
Yeah. And how does that
No.
not get them spanked?
Right. And it's the whole problem that we've talked about before, that the state essentially has infinite money and time to fight this,
Right.
to fight their case.
Or at
While
least delay.
right, while the plaintiffs, if you're Joe Schmo individual, good effing luck.
Oh, yeah.
And even if you are, even most organizations have to be very picky on what cases they take and how far they can take them. And and if it's an instance where the guy whose name is on the case dies, well, then you have to hope that the court actually will let you continue the case anyways, or what have you. We've heard Aaron talk about Operation Blazing Sword having problems just paying for amicus briefs to be submitted.
Right.
And out of all this process, I'm pretty sure that's the cheap way to get that's very much the cheap way to get your hat in to say that you were involved in a case. So
You just got to keep fighting. Keep fighting the good fight.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Keep encouraging each other. Doing what we can. And speaking of
Shenanigans.
Oh, New York. Not talking about the hell of a town, talking about the hell of a state. So New York signed a bill into law, not this past Friday, but the prior Friday, I believe. Yes. Yeah, that would have been the 22nd of December. It's Senate Bill 4099, Assembly Bill 2917. And it will make it illegal for any person to organize, sponsor, conduct, promote, or participate in any contest, competition, tournament, or derby with the objective of taking or hunting wildlife for prizes, for other inducement, or for entertainment. So it has been very traditional to have various hunting competitions throughout the country since the country was a country. I mean, Alvin York participated in these. Well, in New York, that's now illegal. What's interesting is there is some concern about the vagueness. Would this include fishing contests? Because it says, quote, the objective of taking or hunting wildlife for prizes or for other inducement or for entertainment.
That sounds like fishing to me.
Which is huge business in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Both the, not so much on the rivers, but there are a lot of lakes in New York, and there's a lot of freshwater fishing, and there are a number of people who get fishing licenses to participate in fishing contests, and if they can't have those fishing contests, why would they buy those licenses? So I'm expecting within the next year the DEC screaming about the loss of license revenue. But what's interesting is I didn't realize that this was more common than I thought. Was New York is the 10th state to restrict or outright ban hunting contests. California, no surprise, but it was only 2014. It's just under 10 years since the first one of these was passed. Then it was followed by Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, Colorado, New Mexico, Washington, Arizona, and Oregon in the last 5 years, pardon me. And apparently this is being pushed by the Humane Society and animal rights activists. So it's... Pardon?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Now it says, the law targets contests related to hunting coyotes, crows, squirrels, and rabbits, but it also creates an exception for contests involving white-tailed deer, turkeys, and bears, as well as fishing contests, which the governor's office said are carefully regulated by the state. So I know I asked that, doesn't that sound like, well, yeah, but how difficult would it be to remove that exemption? Once the law is in place, making it stricter is not an issue. And I mean, one of the I don't know if it counts as slander, but one of the statements made by the anti-hunting groups is that hunting tournaments don't have to follow environmental conservation law, which is absolutely not true. If they don't follow the the DEC laws, they get shut down and fined.
Well, I mean, with this sort of thing, how often do things like pesky little facts ever?
I know, but if these types of things are banned, I use the example of if it did extend to fishing, fishing licenses. Well, let's just say that at some point in the future they do extend that ban to fishing. It won't just be fishing licenses. It'll be all of the equipment involved that someone would buy from a boat to a spool of fishing line would not be purchased.
Right.
And I would love to see Weer'd v. Filburn used against one of these things. Because according to Weer'd v. Filburn, that's interstate commerce. If you are changing the use in one state that affects the production and use in another state, well, there you go. It would be nice to see some of these used in a way that would benefit individual freedom. And it does say that once the law goes into effect, which is November 1st, 2024, once the law goes into effect, violators would face fines ranging from $500 to $2,000 per violation. Wildlife killed during any unlawful contest would be seized by the state's Department of Environmental Conservation as well, and probably destroyed. And of course, in most states, and definitely in New York, DEC actually has more power than almost any law enforcement organization. So they would not just fine, they could also seize the boat, for example, from the fishermen, or seize the car from the hunters. It's happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they are not an unregulated agency, but they might as well be. So it's not good. I know it's not directly firearm related the way most of our other stories are, but without hunters passing on the skills and traditions, then we don't have the next generation who purchase all those firearms.
Yeah, there's definitely been a massive shift in what people are primarily buying firearms for, but hunting is still a large part of it, and should be.
Yeah, but it's also part of that whole. People joke about the fact that a lot of the folks in big cities don't know where their food comes from.
Right.
It's not a joke in a
No.
lot of cases.
No.
Yeah, I remember. So remember the 80s movie Red Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the scene where they go and they hunt the deer.
Yeah.
And the one kid is really upset by this, and they say, "Well, where do you think hamburger comes from?" And he says, "Well, no one kills it."
Right.
So this is not a new issue.
No, it's not.
But the divorce between large urban residents and where their food and water comes from is even more severe.
And just an unabashed hatred of guns and gun owners.
Well, yeah, this is definitely another attack on the firearms community.
Any little place that they can attack, they'll attack.
Yep. So, anyone want to talk about the?
Yeah, this was for Erin to cover, but yeah, she can't make it tonight. But yeah, it's an Operation Blazing Sword press release that went out in the December 8th. We might have actually talked about this on the show.
Yeah, I believe you talked about it on the show.
I just got the email just before Christmas that said it, so I assumed it was something new. But we totally talked about that before, so I'll pop that. But congratulations, I'll leave it in there. Congratulations to Operation Blazing Sword. Take another lap on the First Amendment that saves the Second Amendment, and really just showing also that those that want gun control really don't care about any of your freedoms. It's not like they're fine with all of the other Bill of Rights, and just the Second Amendment they got a problem with.
Right. I mean, all you have to do is look at the proposed hate speech or past hate speech laws.
Mm-hmm.
And for those listening, we're talking about the case in New York.
We buried the lead.
Yeah, we're talking about the case in New York where one of the new parts of New York gun laws was, oh, you want to get a carry permit? Cool. Hand over the password to your social media accounts, and we'll go through, I think it was like 3 years of your social media postings.
Because, of course, they would stop at 3 years.
Right. Which is a blatant violation of the First Amendment. And as Weer'd said, this is really showing their hands over. They feel that it's perfectly appropriate and reasonable for the state to review what you've been saying for the past couple years and make sure you're one of the right kinds of people and that you have right think to in order to be able to do things.
Right. And the same people who are cheering this would be screaming in with torches and pitchforks if it was required to register to vote.
Oh, yeah.
And that hypocrisy is one of the things that bothers me particularly.
And frankly, there's also the insidious thing that nobody's really talked about that I'm sure the state of New York would never do, which is if they have your password to get into your Facebook or whatnot, there is really nothing stopping them from modifying or adding posts under your name, and it would be a hell of a thing to try to convince or prove that wasn't you. And it very well may be impossible because, well, they're logged in as you.
Yep.
The only way you could do it was if you could contact the social media provider that do that to get the actual IP that they were connected from, and if you could link that to
wait. No. You get law enforcement to investigate.
Well, that's true,
right?
And they will investigate themselves and clear themselves of any possible wrongdoing.
And we've also seen how little that. I mean, obviously, Facebook you can sell all sorts of stuff, probably some illegal stuff on Facebook, but you can't say
absolutely.
You can't say, "Hey, I got this Glock. Anybody want
it?" And there's the whole thing of right, and there's the whole thing of, well, if you live in the same town and you're both using Comcast for your ISP and using DHCP and neither of you is paying for a fixed IP address, then it's pretty much impossible because Comcast doesn't really keep a record of, why, yes, at 10:35 on January 6th, this IP address was going to this address. So best you have is, it was in this town, county, whatever that range goes to, and good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, even ignoring for a moment the clear First Amendment abuse or clear First Amendment violation, the likelihood of abuse is so tremendously high. And I want to toss in one other aspect of this. If this law was allowed to stand or is allowed to stand, and you have to give the state your social media logins, how secure is that being held?
Right. And of course, we know that a state would never release or leak that kind of information.
Yeah, or, release it to a news media organization that would then put an interactive map online. Looking at you, Gannett News.
Isn't that true? All right, so who put the Forgotten Weapons video in? Because I saw this pop up just as I was waiting for my daughter to go to bed. I was scrolling through YouTube and saw that Ian had posted this video, but I didn't have a chance to watch it.
Yeah, that was me, and it was his usual state of the channel for the new year. And one of the things that he mentioned, which I don't know if we've talked about on the show before, is Ian has started a new streaming service, basically, called History of Weapons and War.
That's true.
And he was talking about how in the state of the channel, how that's really going to be a big focus in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a 7-day free trial, and there are apps for various devices, Android and iDevices, Roku, and so forth. And you can watch videos from a number of different creators. Bloke on the Range is in there, as well as Forgotten Weapons, the Royal Armories. What are the guys that do the long range shooting? 9-hole.
Let's hear. I am trying to find list of channels. Let's hear. The Armorer's Bench, Royal Armories, Legacy Collectibles, British Muzzle Loaders, 9-hole Reviews. That's
the ones. Yeah.
Cap and Ball, of course. Forgotten Weapons, Bloke on the Range. Yeah, that's the 8
so far
that are currently on there.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if this is showing it's being successful, if it would expand and things like possibly Demolition Ranch or Kentucky Ballistics or the Ordnance guys got on board as well.
Maybe the Ordnance guys. I don't think the others, because I think I think the folks that are running History of Weapons and War, which very much includes Ian.
Yeah.
I think they are specifically trying to keep it the
history focus.
History focus, yeah.
Yeah. The only problem with that long term is it's very limiting.
It is, but
there's only so many channels that do this to a sufficient degree. And Othias from CN Arsenal said that they looked into it and they love the idea, but it would actually not work for them because they're long format. All of the others are relatively short format.
Right.
And so the return on investment for them would be low. So without CN Arsenal...
And frankly, the way I look at this is, I look at this being a bit different than say Full 30, which tried to do, and is still around, but I think
it is.
But tried to do the whole will be the one place for you to go for gun related videos. And I think the way that they're trying to aim for it is more of, okay, we know that there's a bunch of folks that are willing to pony up some money through Patreon, etc. And this way, this is basically, look at this as you get 8 quality channels with one Patreon subscription, basically, because it is, I believe it's $10 a month.
Yeah, $9.99.
And I'm hoping that works for them a little bit better, and we'll get more folks going. Well, specifically, I'm wanting to go watch Forgotten Weapons or Bloke on the Range or whatnot. Or one of the other 6. So I'm going to go straight to their videos versus I just want something, so let's just bring up and browse random videos. I think that's a little bit different of a target, and I think and I hope that works better for them. I know Full 30 and a couple others have tried to do the wide net thing, and I think that's actually being wide net but not wide enough to grab other genres. It is detrimental.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they should just bring everyone in right away, but there has to be growth. They have these 8 channels. If they stay with these 8 channels, that's not successful business model. just historically how businesses work and fail.
Well, also I don't think we specifically mentioned this, but Ian's always been kind of a guy that's kept his finger in the air to feel the way that winds are going, and like one thing he has is he has got 1,000,001 short-barreled rifles in his private collection, and he has openly said because he won't put a pistol brace on one of them because he said it's only a matter of time before they were banned, and then they were banned.
Lo and behold,
it looks like that ban is going to be officially overturned, but that's still pending in the courts. But he called that out, and as he is saying, like, it's only a matter of time before YouTube just bans guns.
Yeah,
and
well, they've tried several times effectively, not literally, but effectively. The whole thing. You can't have a loaded 30-round magazine, so the YouTubers would get around like, this is only 29 rounds.
Or threading a suppressor on the end of a gun is now. Is
demonstrating construction or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a couple more things Ian had said in that was, one, all the new stuff going onto his site is going to be 4K.
Yes.
And he's actually starting up a 5th program. I think that one was only to YouTube for now, which is new weapons that he's reviewing.
Yeah, he also said that on the YouTube channel, while he did get the new 4K camera, he's got enough of a backlog that it's going to be a while before the 4K stuff starts showing up on YouTube.
Right.
So I do think it's exciting, and it's something I would like to see succeed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would as well, but also at the same time, a friend of mine made a great point in mentioning about Full 30. Mentioning that essentially it was the coloreds only lunch counter in segregation. It was we've been banished from polite society, and so therefore we have our own separate but equal, and we saw how well separate but equal worked.
Right. Well, and again, by keeping it, I thoroughly disagree with David. I think keeping it small keeps it very much it's the same as we're gonna have a couple bloggers on this site versus we're going to go off and create our own social media site,
right? Or YouTube equivalent. Right. I know they don't want to create their own YouTube because Ian is also a big supporter of Player, formerly Utreon.
Right.
And I know he doesn't want to shoot them in the neck.
And Full 30 was very much, we're going to go create our YouTube, except we're also going to put some fences in the way of both viewership and producers, and keeping it with those 8 channels. One, they know that they can. They know the quality of what's getting put out.
Yeah,
and
controlling the content is a lot easier with 8 channels than 80. Right.
And 2, it's also a lot easier to corral those 8 for, okay, this is how we want this site to be seen, and if there are changes that need to be made, or the payment structure to the creators, et cetera, is a lot easier. So, yeah.
But again, I wish them all the luck. Honestly, I'm one of the, well, I'm not a patron because I'm not on Patreon, but I donate to Ian through Utreon as well as See an Arsenal.
Yeah, and if you are a Patreon a Patreon patron of one or two of these guys, chances are you're already putting in close to $10 a month.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a $5 patron of See an Arsenal and a $5 patron of Forgotten Weapons. If I was also a $5 patron of one of the other 8, I would just drop them from Patreon and transfer the money over to the Military History Channel. or
The history of weapons and war. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a no-brainer. Yeah.
right. But because Sea and Arsenal isn't there, I would then be upping from $10 to $15 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm on a fairly limited income.
Well, I mean, it's and for anybody, an extra $5 a month here for that, or for this other creator or whatever, it adds up fast.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, if they had me personally, if they had CN Arsenal on there, that would be 2 channels that I absolutely regularly watch, and it would be a no-brainer for me. I'd subscribe.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if I can get more work and more income, then that would also be a no-brainer.
Right, and of course,
okay, now I've got the more available discretionary funds. I can toss an extra $5 over here.
Right, and of course, I just want to make sure that is in no way me saying that the other channels are not worth it.
No. It's just everyone has a limited amount of time as well as focus.
Right. There's 1 or 2 of these guys that I haven't really watched, but they're the few that I have, but the ones that I have all been very solid content, and it's definitely worth the $10 a month if you can.
Yep.
Well, I think on that note, I think it is time to close out the first show of 2024. And I'm probably going to screw up doing the ID3 tag on the on the show because I had a whole year of typing 2023.
Well, the good news is you probably don't have to worry about writing 2023 on checks for a while, because remember back in the day when it would be a while when you'd go, oh nope, it's 2024, not 2023 on your checks.
Yeah, you say that, but
yeah, I still actually write a decent amount of checks.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't write a lot of checks, but our water bill they charge a $3.50 convenience fee if you pay it online.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah, that's the same with my property tax. I drive to the courthouse and I pay the property tax by check in person, because otherwise they charge me like $7 of a convenience fee. It's just
and I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I'm going to be driving over and dropping off the check.
The one that got me worse was when I was working in animal facilities, and so there's a lot of stuff that you need to sign off on, and so you're signing and dating.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've gone through this room. This room's been inspected. This has gone through. This has been received. This is going through it. So date. And yeah, it was always the previous year's date for a number of times and crossing it out.
Yeah, it's a lot more automated and digitized now, but doing certificates for the training classes. Yeah, if there's a glitch, I have to do paper certificates, which means I have to put the date of class on them. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I will say Nashville's been pretty good about keeping that up and running. But yeah, it's not as nearly a big an issue as it was, say, 10 years ago, though. Weird, was it?
No. All right. But, who's a big deal?
Our listeners.
Our listeners. Thanks to each and every one of our listeners, and a very special thanks to all our supporters on Patreon. To become a Patreon patron, go to patreon.com/Assorted Calendars Podcast and sign up. And David mentioned donation on Utreon, and I will note that we don't accept donations here on the Assorted. I mean, I guess we would accept donations if you want.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to send us money, feel free to send us money, but we'd rather give you value for your money.
Yes, send it to David. He needs it. But it's not. It's a store. You're buying more podcasts. If you like what you heard here, and would like some stuff, maybe some more risque stuff, maybe some uncensored stuff.
If you'd like round tables just with more cursing.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we've got
and less focus. Yeah, if that's possible.
That's the ACP blooper reels and the ACP mag dump. And if you are film buffs like all of us here are. We love our movies. We've got the ACP film tracks where we add a commentary track to. We've got hundreds of them out now of popular films. So yeah, you can.
And if you do this, if you do become a patron and you want to do one of the film tracks, I highly recommend starting with Lamageddon.
Lamageddon is a really good start. Also, be warned, we're about to add an additional Casino Royale, so there might be.
You might want to skip that one.
There might be a Casino Royale that's better to start with. That it might be the 2006 one,
or the other 1965, 6.
Yeah, but we haven't done that one.
Not yet.
Yeah, we haven't done the Climax miniseries one, but yes. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Also, you can remember to rate us on Apple Podcasts. I think that's the only podcast one that has this. You know what? You can go on YouTube to the Weer'd Beard YouTube channel, which has all the episodes going up, and you can give it a thumbs up. That'll also work.
Yep.
But
and comments are also welcome.
Yes. Yeah. Leave comments on the YouTube channel. That'll be fun if you're a YouTube person. Yeah, go through some comments in there. I'll see them. But yeah, and make sure to share it with friends. That's the big thing. Get the word out. Get new people. New Year's resolution: share the show with friends, both online and off. I got a blog. It's weirdworlds.com, and you can hear me on Handgun Radio on the Firearms Radio Network, where we will soon be talking about Gaston Glock. And Erin Paulette, we miss you, Erin. Hopefully she'll be back soon. But she's got a link tree. That's linktree/Erin Paulette. That's linkter.ee/Erin Paulette, all one word. And thanks to Nate Spencer for our music. David, where can people find you?
Well, obviously you can find me here. I'm a regular guest on Handgun Radio, a contributor to the Blue Collar Prepping blog, which can be found at bluecollarprepping.blogspot.com. I'm also a published author, and books with my stories can be found on Amazon under the names Brenna Bach and David Bach.
Myles, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me here on ACP.
All right. He's a specialist.
There you go.
Myles, you need to start a blog like Oddball has.
Yeah. Actually,
it's not hard.
Yeah. Myles,
you don't want me writing things.
Myles, just tell us you have a blog, because Oddball,
right.
Oddball has one too, and he doesn't write in it either. I really have one, and I don't write it.
Speaking of which, my blog is at gunscarstech.com, and I'm also a regular on Handgun Radio, and you can find me on I regularly hang out on the Facebook Assorted Calibers podcast page, and of course I have to mention my lovely wife's podcast Meowcore, if you like heavy metal and cats.
And who doesn't?
Right?
And Oddball, I think a good blog post would be a write-up of the VZ61 project.
You are absolutely correct.
We have pictures and everything.
I mean, heck, I have pictures and everything that I meant to do a write-up of building the Voron a year ago.
See how well that worked out.
Yeah.
So, Weer'd and I write checks regularly. Myles is non-committal. Oddball rarely writes checks. Our check writing is assorted, and so is our podcast.
Good night, everybody. Well played, David. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
I got you, pal.
Good night, folks.
Good night, and
Good night,
Happy
everyone.
New Year's, everybody.